watching Tooned In with Shawn Geekory.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tooned In. I'm your host, Shawn Geekory, where we bring you useless stories about the internet when we really could be doing something more constructive with our time. Our top stories: Dr. Seuss a racist? ? Surely this must be a lark. I did my research. I went back in time. I looked through my childhood with my kaleidoscope mind. Now, as a child, I remember these books had some danger, but I don't remember being taught to hate strangers, or others, or colors, or anything else. I remember his books were full of woohoos, and Tim Jingers and Tippity Chelps, and bozos with tar blings, and a bunch of other trippy rhymes. If this dude was a racist, he was a product of his time. Now, love him or hate him for his racial ways, it's just another bad example of how they thought back in those days. So Dr. Seuss Enterprise took action right away, which just happened to land on the late author's birthday. They took some of his books and quietly put them away. Because neither comedy nor parody, not then, not today, it's just never nice to talk about people that way. And it doesn't matter if you're Seuss or the mighty Dr. Dre, there are just certain lines we gotta respect nowadays. Now, many news stations picked up on this tale, but when we here at Tooned In heard about him again, well, nostalgia kicked in and we started to read to our children. Now, my son's not as happy about this idea as I am, but at age 21, who can really blame him? All the news stations were quick to report, but we felt the old man deserved a thoughtful retort. Now, whether he was racist or evil, Tooned In doesn't really care. Dr. Seuss was just a great reason to get back on the air. But we here at Tooned In, we had to report on him, because we had no other sketches to put this rhyming crap in. In other news, the world's most expensive RC car took a test drive last week. The Mars Perseverance Rover went for a 33-minute autonomous drive to test out its navigation system. This is the first time we've sent commands to the remote vehicle since we flung the $2.5 billion hunk of metal and plastic towards the red planet like a stack of eggs at a substitute teacher's house. The Perseverance Rover stuck the 5-point landing on the surface of Mars like a smiling Mary Lou Retton, thus allowing American taxpayers to breathe a collective sigh of relief. We here at Tooned In really were more of an Ekaterina Szabo fan. Since then, the $2.7 billion science buggy's been setting up its toy helicopter and stretching out its robotic arm, giving it much-needed rest for charging after its long journey. Ingenuity, the robotic helicopter carried to Mars, is scheduled to make the first roto-powered flight beyond Earth's atmosphere, because flying drones on Earth comes with way too many restrictions. Frankly speaking, if you're going to fly an $80 million toy helicopter around at a cost of $1 million per flight, you really want to make sure the airspace is clear. Some keen-eyed science nerds combing over the Perseverance first selfie noticed NASA engineers' use of zip ties to hold down the $2.7 billion spacecraft's ultra-sensitive fiber optic wiring as if it were a weathered drift car. Vinyl zip ties, designed in 1958 by electric company Thomas & Betts. They made their way into daily life over the years in everything from automotive projects to protest-worthy handcuffs. And now they weaseled their way onto Mars. This isn't the first time we've visited the dusty ball of iron oxide, starting way back in June 19, 1976, when the Viking 1 touched down on Mars' surface, making it the first man-made craft to leave its mark on the lonely planet. Since then, we've sent over 14 missions, with some of them containing multiple spacecraft. During the LED on Mars, or the landing, entry, and descent phase, the man-made crafts need to eject their heat shields, discard their used parachutes, and are usually in need of dropping off other protective gear after the traumatic event, thus leaving the untouched surface of the red planet looking like the aftermath of a Manchester football riot. If we keep whipping these knowledge-expanding, rubbish-producing prods at the red planet, pretty soon the only thing we're going to know for sure is that Mars is on track to be just as polluted as the Earth by the time we get there. Snowflakes around the world were up in arms last week as Amazon attempted to make changes to its mobile applications icon. No good deed goes unpunished, as chat rooms around the world lit up with speculation that the new application's icon had a similar appearance to that of the long-deceased Adolf Hitler. We here at the station were not aware that the psychopathic, narcissistic former German leader hell-bent on world domination had a mustache made out of teal-blue packaging tape, but we were unsurprised by the accusations given that it had been over a month without any Nazi talk online. The Tooned In team couldn't see how anyone could make the connection between the most despised man in history and the world's most lovable corporate giant, because we've never seen Hitler smile. To appease the always sensitive internet, Amazon quietly altered its logo to do away with the pareidolia connection to the late psychopath's mustache. Pareidolia is the phenomenon used to describe when we see patterns in images that are not really there. You would be most familiar with this term as the Rochford ink blot test often depicted in movies. If you've seen these ink blots outside of a theater, then that says more about you than you likely want your friends to know. Scientists have yet to pinpoint the parts of the brain that tie together the two seemingly unconnected things, likely due to how much more fun LSD testing is. Loved by many doctors throughout the mid to late 1900s, LSD, or lysergic diethylide, is the psychotropic drug known for its hallucinogenic effects on the brain. Throughout the 60s and the 70s, depending on what type of doctor you had, you were either looking at ink blots or pink elephants. Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks. From everyone here at the Tooned In team, I'm Shawn Geekory. Thanks for watching.
This has been another Fall Down Rickety production by Square Box Cubed Media.